Cerebellum is also called small brain. It is located posterior and inferior to the cerebral hemispheres. The cerebellum is connected to the brainstem by superior, middle, and inferior cerebellar peduncles. The cortex is extremely folded and it has a surface area of 75% as that of cerebral cortex. The cerebellum has a central body called vermis and two lateral hemispheres. Vermis is called so because it resembles a worm. It is bent on itself. It has a superior and inferior surface. The vermis consists of divisions such as lingula, central lobule, culmen, declive, folium, tuber, pyramid, uvula, nodule. In the hemisphere, each part is related to the vermis. Each cerebellar hemisphere is anatomically divided by two transverse furrows into three lobes: anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and flocculonodular lobe. The phylogenetical divisions of cerebellum are archicerebellum, paleocerebellum, and neocerebellum. Archicerebellum represents flocculonodular lobe. Paleocerebellum consists of vermis and paravermal portions. Neocerebellum consists of cerebellar hemispheres. The functional divisions of cerebellum are vestibulocerebellum, spinocerebellum, and cerebrocerebellum. Vestibulocerebellum includes the flocculonodular lobe. Spinocerebellum includes the paleocerebellum. Cerebrocerebellum includes the neocerebellum. The afferent connections of cerebellum include climbing fibers, mossy fibers, and parallel fibers. The climbing fibers and mossy fibers are the afferents to cerebellum. Parallel fibers are the axons of the granular cells in cerebellar cortex. Climbing fibers. The climbing fibers consist of olivocerebellar tract, which arises from inferior olivary nucleus in the medulla. The inferior olivary nucleus receives proprioceptive inputs from all over the body and output signals from cerebral cortex. These fibers enter through cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle of the opposite side. It supplies to the cerebellar cortex and the deep nuclei. They are stimulatory to the deep nuclei in the Purkinje cells. The neurotransmitter released is glutamate. Mossy fibers include all the other afferents entering the cerebellum other than olivocerebellar tract. Parallel fibers. The axons of granular cells in the deep granular cell layer reach the outermost molecular layer of the cerebellar cortex and branch into two divisions. It resembles the alphabet T, so these fibers are called parallel fibers. The parallel fibers end on Purkinje cells in the middle Purkinje layer, basket cells, stellate cells, and Golgi cells, axons in the outer molecular layer. They are excitatory to all these cells. So mossy fibers include granule cells. Mossy fibers excite the granule cells. Granule cells excite the Purkinje cells, basket cells, stellate cells, and Golgi cells. Basket cells and stellate cells in turn inhibit Purkinje cells. So this is called feed-forward inhibition. The axons of granule cells excite the Golgi cells and the Golgi cells negatively inhibit the granule cells. This is feedback inhibition. So the mossy fibers include all the other afferents entering the cerebellum other than the olivocerebellar tract. So the mossy fibers include dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tracts, vestibulocerebellar tract, reticulocerebellar tract, cuneocerebellar tract, tectocerebellar tract, rubrocerebellar tract, and pontocerebellar tract. So first, the dorsal spinocerebellar tract carries unconscious proprioceptive inputs and exteroceptive inputs from the limbs and trunk of the same side, and they enter the cerebellum through ipsilateral inferior cerebellar peduncle. So the dorsal spinocerebellar tract ends on the spinocerebellum. Ventral spinocerebellar tract, it carries cutaneous and proprioceptive inputs from opposite side of the lower limbs and enters cerebellum through ipsilateral superior cerebellar peduncle, and they are distributed to the hind limb area of the spinocerebellum. Next, vestibulocerebellar tract. This tract carries impulses from the same side of vestibular nucleus about the information regarding the position of head in relation to the body posture. It enters cerebellum through the ipsilateral inferior cerebellar peduncle. It ends in the flocculonodular lobe or the vestibulocerebellum. Next is reticulocerebellar tract. It arises from the lateral reticular nucleus and enters through inferior cerebellar peduncle, and it is distributed to all areas of the cerebellar cortex. Next, cuneo-cerebellar tract. This tract arises from the external arcuate nucleus and it carries proprioceptive information from the head, neck, upper limb and upper part of the body. It enters through the ipsilateral inferior cerebellar peduncle and distributed to spinocerebellum. Next is tectocerebellar tract. It carries visual and auditory information from the superior and inferior colliculi. It enters through superior cerebellar peduncle. Next, rubrocerebellar tract arises from the red nucleus. This rubrocerebellar tract contains information from cerebral cortex. It has both crossed and uncrossed fibers. It enters through the superior cerebellar peduncle and it ends on the dentate nucleus. Dentate nucleus is one of the deep nuclei of the cerebellum. Next, pontocerebellar tract. These are fibers arising from motor area of the cerebral cortex and end on pontine nuclei. From here, they arise to form the pontocerebellar fibers. They cross to the opposite side and they enter through the opposite middle cerebellar peduncle, and they are distributed to all areas of the cerebellar cortex. Efferent connections of cerebellum. All the efferents from cerebellar cortex are through the Purkinje fiber output, which ends on the deep cerebellar nuclei. The Purkinje cell output is inhibitory in nature. So regarding the Purkinje fibers, the Purkinje cells are present in the middle layer, that is the Purkinje cell layer in the cerebellar cortex. It is the largest neuron with large amount of dendritic branches. The dendrites of Purkinje cells project to the outermost layer of the cortex, that is the molecular layer, where they synapse with the axons of the neurons in this layer. The climbing fiber, which is one of the afferents coming into cerebellum, ends on the Purkinje cells. The climbing fiber consists of olivocerebellar tract, which arises from the inferior olivary nucleus in medulla. Purkinje cells are the only output from the cerebellar cortex which projects to the deep cerebellar nuclei. The efferents leave the cerebellum from the deep nuclei. Purkinje cells are involved in learning of motor tasks. It has been experimentally proved by increased activity in climbing fibers when a motor task is being learnt. So coming back to efferent connections, the deep nuclei include the dentate, emboliform, vestigial and globose nuclei. Emboliform and globose are together called nucleus interpositus. Deep nuclei also receive collaterals from the climbing and mossy fibers, and both are excitatory in nature. The net effect of output from deep nuclei is excitatory to the brainstem and thalamus. So, all parts of cerebellum except vestibulocerebellum exit the cerebellum through deep nuclei. So, there are 4 kinds of pathways. The first is cerebellovestibular pathway. The vestibulospinal tract leaves the vestibulocerebellum and projects to the vestibular nuclei directly. It controls the activity of vestibulospinal tract. The next pathway is cerebello-reticular pathway, reticulospinal tract. The vermal portion of spinocerebellum projects to the pontine reticular formation through vestigial nucleus. From here, the reticulospinal tract arises, and through this tract, the cerebellum controls the anterior horn cells. The next is paravermal portion of spinocerebellum projects to the nucleus interpositus, and this in turn projects to the red nucleus. So thereby cerebellum controls the rubrospinal tract. The final pathway is dentato-thalamocortical pathway. Impulses from the cerebrocerebellum end on dentate nucleus, and from here it goes through thalamus and reaches motor cortex. From the motor cortex, corticospinal tract arises and ends on alpha motor neurons. Through this pathway, cerebellum fine-tunes the activity of the corticospinal tract. Functions of cerebellum. The first function is control of posture and equilibrium. The vestibulocerebellum or the flocculonodular lobe controls posture and equilibrium. It receives inputs from vestibular apparatus directly and also through vestibular nuclei about the position of head and body. It sends efferents to vestibular nuclei from which the vestibular spinal tract arises to regulate the posture. Vestibulocerebellum is also concerned with regulating the vestibulo-ocular reflex. The next function is control of muscle tone and stretch reflex. Spinocerebellum influences the muscle tone through its output via vestigial nucleus, which in turn controls the vestibulospinal and reticulospinal tract arising from pontine reticular formation. The major influence of cerebellum on tone is facilitatory. Vestibulospinal tract is facilitatory to alpha motor neurons and reticulospinal tract is facilitatory to gamma motor neurons. Since control of cerebellum is on both alpha and gamma motor neurons, it has an important role in alpha-gamma linkage. The next function is control of voluntary movements. The paravermal portion of spinocerebellum controls the skilled voluntary movements. It does not initiate movements, but it coordinates voluntary movements. Coordination of movements is by regulating the time, rate, range, force, and direction of movements. So, all the three functional divisions of the cerebellum work together as comparator of servo mechanism. So, regarding the comparator servo mechanism, the impulses for voluntary movements are planned and programmed in the premotor cortex and it is sequenced in the primary motor area, and the command to skeletal muscles is sent through the corticospinal tract. A copy of the plan or intended movement is also sent to the spinocerebellum. Cerebellum also gets feedback from the proprioceptors about the actual movement performed by the muscles and joints. It also receives other sensory inputs from eye, ear, and vestibular apparatus. Now the cerebellum compares the intended movement and the executed movement along with other sensory inputs also. So it thereby modifies appropriately the ongoing movement. If any corrections have to be done in programming of movements, the error signals are sent to the motor cortex. So this is about the comparator servo mechanism. Next function is control of body movements of one side. The motor cortex of one side is connected to the opposite cerebellum through a closed feedback loop. Cerebral, cerebellar, cerebral circuit. Cortico-ponto-dentato-thalamo-cortical pathway. So this is the closed feedback loop. So each cerebellar hemisphere controls the opposite cerebral cortex. But the corticospinal tract descending down from motor cortex decussates in medulla and controls the opposite side of the body. Since there is double decussation, it is that cerebellum controls the same side of the body. So it is always ipsilateral. Next function is planning and programming of movements. The cerebrocerebellum has extensive connections with motor cortex and therefore it is involved in planning and programming of movements. Learning of skills. Cerebellum always tends to make changes in ongoing movements and therefore it improves by learning. Another evidence is that there are increased activities in the climbing fibers when a new skill is learnt. So cerebellum has a great role in learning skills. The last function is eyeball movement. The pyramid of the cerebellum is concerned with eyeball movement. Function tests of cerebellum. There are a variety of function tests for cerebellum. Finger nose test. The patient is asked to extend the hand and to bring the tip of his index finger and touch the tip of his nose. He is asked to repeat this alternately with both the hands rapidly. In A-diadacokinesis test, the patient is asked to perform rapid and alternate pronation and supination of the forearm. In finger-to-finger test, the patient is asked to bring his arms to the sides and then asked to bring the tips of index fingers together in front as an arc and to touch the tips. Next, drawing a circle in the air with fingertip, buttoning and unbuttoning the shirt. These are also done to test for any cerebellar lesions. Heel knee test. The subject is asked to place the heel of one leg on the knee of another leg, and he is asked to move the heel along the medial side of the tibia in walking in a straight line.